That's
and
awesome.
I think it's a great segue to a question I have for you, because I think youth pastors and next gen leaders are leading a generation of stressed out teenagers. I mean, they
100%.
have anxiety coming out of every pore of them, and the pressure they're under and the stress that they're under. What would be your advice to youth pastors, inviting those who are following them and those who are their shepherding, teenagers, into what it is to be healthy, not just to go to church? How do you advise us to help stressed out teens?
Stressed out teens know more than or have more information than you do, but they know less. Right? They've experienced less. They have all of these facts and figures thrown at them all day long. TikTok has every other video is someone teaching them something.
Right.
So it's not lack of information for which they perish. They are smarter than you. They will solve problems quicker than you. Their intuition is usually better than yours, but they have no experience to give it substance. And so giving students a chance to experience what faith is, not to learn what faith is through just words, is what gives them the chops to get through the anxiety, to get through the stress. Because, I mean, they're not starving, most of them, right? It's not the Dust Bowl. They're not going to World War II. Yeah. Their lives aren't being altered. They have little stressors.
Yeah.
And yes, there's broken homes, but the majority of them, it's these mini stressors times 1,000.
And the constant pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we have to realize as pastors, and this is a second unpopular opinion I have, is that your service is the least important thing that you do in youth ministry. Your discipleship tool, whatever that is, small groups, cohorts, Zoom calls, whatever you're doing, Bible studies, that is more important than ever. The event side of things is less important than ever. And so getting enough solid people that students can process that information around, challenge things, question things, learn is the goal. That's how you help students. I'm working with 6 of them right now that are highly intelligent, all in advanced programs at your church, actually.
We have advanced kids in our church.
We do.
They're
advanced.
under
a lot of stress.
No, we love that you're here working with our youth leaders and our teens.
Love it, yeah.
And they're doing great. But we met last week, and no one had helped them understand, okay, you believe right.
Right.
What does that look like? Take a second, slow down. What can you do with that tool that you're holding? Slow down, make it happen, make it work. And you found them all go, oh, there are answers. Oh, there is more to this. It's real. If I'm stressed out and I find something that disagrees, I'm shaking. My friend's a plant person. She's like a plant mom. And one time I was at her house and she was like shaking her bushes. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I have to shake them. I have to simulate wind resistance or else the roots will rot.
Wow.
She goes, so they're not supposed to be in a place with no tension. So I have to simulate that tension because that's where the roots grow. And the same thing is with students. We have to put them in positions that are hard so that they can galvanize what they believe. And that takes time. But if all we're doing is games in a service and lick it and stick it and move them on, what time do we have to hear what they're going through?
Wow. That's really, really good.
Yeah, the small group time is the most important time in youth group.
It just reinforces coming alongside, just like you're inviting your little boy into devotions and coming alongside. Yep. I mean, you're inviting these teenagers and teaching youth pastors to do the same, to invite them into a faith that works, but not just a teaching about it, but hey, come live this life with me. Let me come alongside you and the stressors you're under. and walk with that. I love that.
I've always been challenged by the monastic fathers that could trace their discipleship back to the apostles.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, I was a disciple of him who was a disciple of him, who's a disciple of him, who's a disciple of, right?
Wow.
Peter. And, you know, I work with a 20-year-old kid named Jonathan. He works with us, and he's in a lot of car rides with me. And he is the best example to me of what discipleship looks like for at my age, because he just rides along. And when I was a youth pastor,
awesome.
the best ministry I did was at the grocery store. You know, hey, I got to go pick this up. Come on.
Yeah.
And it was in those moments. And, you know, I've seen a lot of growth in Jonathan over the last year and a half. And it's not because I said anything profound. I think it's because he was in proximity with me long enough to work through some stuff and to challenge things. And I hope that one day he can look back at me and go, you know, I was a disciple of Arin at a time, and Arin was a disciple of Ronnie Reed or John May, and John May was a disciple of, you know, and we can go back. You know, I've named a couple people in the podcast. All right, Dr. Roden, who, you know, really poured into John Kenny. John Kenny really poured into John May. John May has really poured into my life. I'm pouring into Jonathan's life. And that generational discipleship happens 1, 2, 3 at a time, and not 300. And that's a tough part to reconcile with leadership, because in a lot of states that's bad leadership, but it's good pastoring.